Hi, everyone. Welcome to Go Live. Me and Asa, we're both as tired as each other today because we've been doing some things in the background. That sounds weird. We have been working hard in the background to get some dank stuff ready for you. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on this beautiful, lovely Saturday. We have, as always, incredible guests, and you are incredible viewers. Shout out to 100 people already here. Smash that like button if you're loving, feeling the sauce, ready to get sauced up. Speaking of sauce, Asa, you had your first toke of shisha today. How was that?
What a weird way to go into it. Yeah, I was in Gaz's studio today, and I actually had every opportunity to sabotage his auto tune, but I didn't take it because I secretly love it. I'm good.
Wow, I secretly love it. Wow, you heard it here. Then I'm going to keep going hard on that. No, I won't. I'll spare you sparingly. I'll use it sparingly. We have an incredible show for you today. A special guest, but both special guests. One who's being a very big troll right now, which I can't wait to get into. But we are an esteemed company, joined by Joe from Hypercharge. Hypercharge's dev and PR man is here. The game that has been dominating on Steam charts, has been doing well on social media, and now the final glow up, GameOnDaily. That's it. It doesn't get any better than this. Joe, it's been a pleasure. I've had you on. I've been on a couple of shows with you, and now we get to have you on here. How are you, sir?
I'm on the big stage now. Does it get bigger than this? Yeah, no, I'm awesome. Thank you. I'm awesome. I'm finally. I feel like I say this every podcast we've been on, guys, where I'm like, I'm finally catching up with everything. But I think I'm finally catching up with everything now. So things are good, really good. Thank you.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm glad you're catching up, or maybe you haven't, because there's still a lot in store for the future of Hypercharge. So I think just hold on to that thought, and we'll talk about it very shortly. Last but certainly not least, it is part of the Familia who's donning a background with a massive cross on it. What's going on? It's Hargeet Chani. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing okay, I guess. I'm not so sure about this ABK deal happening anytime soon, or if at all. But beyond that, yeah, I guess Xbox has no games.
What happened to you? What's this? You've turned into me. You're literally so.
Well, I don't know if I turned into you. I mean, look, this is all politics, of course, right? So we have an FTC, and the FTC had there were a couple of people short. They got the nominations in. Lena Khan is now the leader of it. They finally got their fifth person, and now that they have full strength, the first thing they do is block Meta from getting a nothing burger, stupid fitness app on VR. Okay. And if that is the direction they're going, and the reason they're saying this is, Meta, you could go hire your own people and make your own thing. And it's like, that's none of your business. Like, your job is to check if it's going to be a problem for consumers.
Competitively.
Right. Yeah. And this is a stupid little industry that doesn't exist yet, right? VR is not a big thing yet. And
don't call it stupid.
I'm sorry, but it's just true. It's just true. Okay, it's just true. But and I get it, Asa, that you love it, but it is a small industry, and they're trying to make this industry, right? Meta is one of the companies trying to make this industry, and so they're like, okay, this is something that could potentially bring in customers. You know, it isn't a simple thing of I just go create my equivalent. You can't trample IP. And so, you have to either buy the IP or you have to come up with something entirely different. And I'm like, so they went and bought the IP, right? This is what normally companies would do. Yeah. How is this a problem? But anyways, right? So the legalese on this, and it's not just me. Read all the people who've written articles about this. This is stupid, right? But this is the direction they're going, okay? And if they're saying that for them, right, then what are they going to say for ABK? So my hopes of this happening are very low. I think they're going to get challenged. I think it's not going to work. It's still going to fail. But the thing is, you're looking at years, because this is going to go litigation, and that's the way it is, right? And so that's what I think. I don't know. I could be totally wrong. I would love it if next month we find out they're good. That would be awesome.
Couple of weeks ago, you were actually of the view that it was positive and it might actually end up going quicker than we thought. Now you're thinking this may
not quicker. I was just doing the calculations to say, okay, this is the time frame they're allotted. This is the time frame that EU is allotted. This is the time frame that UK is allotted. Okay, based on that, this is when they could potentially finish, right? But that all hinged on no challenge. If there's a challenge, forget it. It's years away. And that's where we are now.
Well,
so now,
I do share your sentiments.
Happening. I don't know if Microsoft will say, yeah, let's wait till 2025 or 26 for this to go through, or say, to hell with it, we're not going to do it. Right. And so that's where I'm at right now. I don't know if it's going to happen. And this is all conjecture, right? But my faith in this happening now is something like 10 to 20%. I'm very, very low that it's going to happen.
Based on what you've told me on the FTC's approach to Meta, and very almost nonsensical, but I need to read the whole thing. But
exactly
on the face of it,
go read it. You're a lawyer, right? It'd be awesome to get your take on it.
And I'm intrigued to see that. But if that's going to set a precedent, and we've always said it here, the FTC is emboldened. It wants to flex its muscles, and it cannot ignore a $70 billion deal. So very interesting point. Let's see what happened. Let's see what happens in this space. Some people were saying it was going to happen this year, and I said no chance. But well, there you go. Special Nick. Well, that was an interesting topic. Gents, do you have anything to add to that, Asa? Do you think about that? Is that worrying you about the Meta thing and FTC's?
Yeah, I mean, if it's setting the tone for the way that the FTC are going to behave, then it is a pretty strong tone. It's a weird one because Beat Saber is the game, right? I didn't actually know they were trying to buy it, but I did a little show on a Thursday, and I can't remember who it was. Someone was passing through, chatting there, and mentioned that the FTC had stepped in and stopped this Beat Saber thing. I didn't know that the thing was them trying to acquire the game. But for them to go and say, Facebook, go and make your own Beat Saber, they're obviously not paying attention, because there are 100 Beat Saber clones. They're compiling a problem, not making it better. But yeah, I mean,
wow. So this is the problem, where you get a bunch of politicians in charge to try and regulate equity, because the last people who are equitable or make decisions that are fair tend to be politicians, in my experience. But that's my jaded view. Joe, what do you think? Let's get your take on it before we wax lyrical about Hypercharge. Mike, on this show we have quite a lot of key topics. We've got a strong Xbox contingent. We've got a lot of a mix here, but very Xbox leaning at present, and that may change in the future. But part of that involves the conversation regarding Xbox and this massive megaton acquisition of Activision Blizzard. What are your thoughts on this of going through?
So just to clarify, you're talking about this metaverse stuff.
Well, not just the metaverse. So the Microsoft are acquiring Activision Blizzard. That includes Call of Duty, Overwatch, World of Warcraft, all of that. The big $70 billion deal. You have to be living under a rock
what's
not
called
to know
Facebook.
About. Yeah,
so that's what Meta.
I guess
they renamed themselves Meta.
Yeah.
It's Meta, Beta, Alpha.
Yeah, so it's just
Omega.
Facebook was trying to acquire a company.
Yeah.
So sorry. So you're asking about the merging of Activision and Blizzard now, like what I think about that?
Yeah. So just I think I may have confused you here, just because Meta, Facebook's new name, the FTC stepped in because for the reasons Hargeet highlighted, Facebook were trying to. With Beat Saber trying to innovate in this VR space, and said, no, build your own game. And the FTC recently has been emboldened by the Senate and the powers that be. And a lot of people are saying the Xbox acquisition of Activision Blizzard, the big $70 billion deal, is probably not going to go through, or it's not going to go through next year. People are worried. Xbox fans are concerned. Other pundits are commenting on whether or not it's likely. Do you follow that much, and do you care about it?
I mean, I've seen I've said it before. I'm a bit of a simple man. Just make video games and play video games when I can. So
just make video games.
Yeah, no. I see. I've read it. I haven't done too much research on it, if I'm honest. Obviously, been so busy, but I have seen it and know a little bit about the context. And I guess I think people are, from my understanding of what I've read, people are worried because they feel like maybe monopolization is a bit of the wrong word there. I don't know, but like,
the consolidation of the
are
whole
afraid
thing,
like how much control are they going to have over certain titles, to keep in their sort of side of the court, so to speak. Because if more and more companies are getting acquired, or companies are acquiring other companies, do they get to keep more IPs? So then, is it going to just be exclusive? Is it just going to be on one platform? So I think that's where a bit of the worry can be. I don't think that'll. I hope it won't happen if we're talking about being exclusive here, because I don't think it makes fully sense for a massive, massive game to stay on one console. I don't think they'd do that for two reasons. One, they'll probably they would lose more money. And then two, there'd be such an uproar. For example, if Call of Duty just stayed, say, on Xbox, that'd never happen. I mean, it's so unlikely, in my opinion. But I can understand there's people being concerned. But other than that, that's kind of how much I've been following it. So
I mean, your view it's good to get your view on it, because that's the kind of way the FTC will view it, because they're talking about, well, that's how they should potentially view it. But based on what Hargeet's told me, they sound quite incompetent and overextending what they're meant to be doing, if that's what they're doing. Because
I wouldn't say incompetent, just to be clear, because I think they're purposefully doing what they want to do, but it is from an area of like their thoughts of what they think the industry should be. I just want to be clear about that. I don't think they're incompetent. I think they have a purpose for what they're doing, and it's beyond what their scope is, but
it's beyond what their scope is what makes them incompetent, no? Because they're overextending themselves already, like politicians always do. They just
politicians unfair. That's fair, right? They should do that, because that's the point. They're supposed to make laws, right? This is an elected body that's supposed to, it's a nominated body that's supposed to just make sure that any deal is not going to cause competitive problems, right? And they're stepping beyond that. That's where it's kind of problematic. But again, unless somebody challenges that, it's just the way it is, right? So, and I think I think Meta is going to win this, because I don't think it's going to be like something they can actually enforce.
Wow.
So I think Meta will end up winning this, because they've done it before.
You think Meta will win this?
I think Meta will win this, but it'll take years, right? It's going to take years. And so either Meta will say, okay, we will take the hit and do it, or it's not worth it to us. And so we'll have to see, right? And that's where these things get interesting. And so I don't know if that'll apply to ABK as well, but I think it will. Because if they want to say the same things, right? So why doesn't Microsoft just extend themselves and make themselves better? Why not? Why buy themselves to the top? That literally was in there. Why are they, that Meta's buying themselves to the top? And it's like, well, that's literally what Microsoft is doing by buying the largest publisher. They're buying themselves to the top. And I can only see that being a negative for Microsoft.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Joe's missus just stepped in.
Got you.
Hi.
Hundreds of thousands of people have just seen you.
Well done. There's no harm here.
She needs to put this in the dishwasher. Sorry,
That's no problem at all. Honestly, let's see how it goes. I think Microsoft have quite potent lawyers and a legal team as well, and obviously Facebook would as well. But let's see how it goes, because ultimately this is, like we've said before, a political exercise. It can go either way. I don't think it's going to be easy. A lot of people had quite relaxed views on it. The polls come in, but 68 people have voted. 81% of you think, no, you're not worried at all. Fine. And 19% said yes, they're a bit concerned about it. I think it will go through, but the question is when, and it might be a lot more delayed than you may think if this kind of thing sets a precedent. Let's see. Shout out to Wandering Dutch. We're being a member for 10 months, not 7.
Wandering
so 10 months already. Thank you so much, Dutch. That's really sweet of you. He goes, let's go, Joe. And a Hyperlube. What? Hyperlube. What? Is that? I copied and pasted. No, I actually typed that. I thought I am. Okay. I assume that's a typo. But cool, fair enough. Hyperloop Unchained, it is. This is no longer a family show. It never was a family show. And on that note of lube, let's talk about Hypercharge. Hypercharge, for the people who don't know in our chat, is a game that has been kind of dominating the airwaves. It was number 2 on Steam when I was last talking to you. Bestseller. It's going crazy. It's a game where, well, your childhood fantasy comes true. And I'm sure Ace is going to do the Matrix and pull out some gameplay footage.
I have a quick question for Joe. So, Joe, you put a new trailer up for this today. Does that trailer have a voiceover? Just because if I'm going to play, okay, I won't put audio on it because it'll be a little bit confusing. But
okay,
I will bring it.
Okay. Yeah. No. So, Hypercharge has seen some resurgence. A game that had released a while ago, but almost had a second launch and a second wind. And I want to talk to you about this game that has enamored many who just instantly, and like myself, well, like, what the hell? What is this game? This something special about Hypercharge. Now, Ace is playing the latest story trailer, like comic book theme of this game. And in a few moments, we'll obviously play gameplay footage of that game. But Joe, if you could summarize it to the people who haven't heard of Hypercharge in our chat, what, without showing it to them, because if you're doing your marketing, you're outside an EGX and you're like, hey man, where are you from? I'm from Hypercharge. Oh, what's your game about? How would you summarize it?
I would say, do you like action figures? And if they said no, I say fuck off. No, I'm only joking. How would I summarize it? I'd say it's a game where you become an action figure and it's a labor of love brimming with nostalgia, and you fight lots of classic weaponized toys, waves of weaponized toys, either in first or third person camera modes. It's very accessible. It has split screen, online, offline, PvP, co-op, story campaign coming soon. And it fills that modern sort of gap in gaming where it takes you back to your roots of being a child playing with your action figures. And it really does create special, I keep saying nostalgic moments, but it
Nostalgic moments is right.
Yeah, it does. It really takes you back to sort of the golden age of gaming, I would say. So yeah, that's how I describe it. I wouldn't more and more when I talk about it, I don't want to just describe it as like, you know, a technical game, as in a technical explanation. You know, it's a first-person shooter. It's more than that. It's an emotional thing. Hypercharge. You know, when you go inside it, if you go and play the game for the first time, your face will light up, and you'll be like, "I remember this toy. Oh, cool! This reference. I remember that. Wow! Look at all this detail," and it just floods you, evokes all this emotion and everything, and. Yeah, it's more than just a game, really. It's an experience.
Wow.
So
it's an experience.
Yeah.
And we will show you gameplay of it in a moment. It sounds like DMT. No, it's not a drug promotion show. But it is an experience. It is an experience if you've played it. Immediately, one of those few games, you know, like Cuphead. When you see Cuphead, you're like, holy, what the hell was that? That game looks cool. Old school, that brings me back to my childhood of those kind of cartoons. Hypercharge did a very similar thing to me because it's like, oh, damn, what? I had that toy. Oh, this is like Toy Soldiers, the game, but with Goku and all sorts then. And it's playing right now on screen. And this game is slightly different. So a lot of people thought, what? I can't wait till this game comes out. Some commentators were like, this is a scam. This game will never come out. Not realizing that the game is actually already out. And it's had a bit of a second wind, no? Because it's been out for some time, and you've always
technically a fourth wind, but yeah.
Fourth wind, yeah, well, yeah, exactly. But it seems like in socials, in terms of like the optics on Steam, even you've got this massive glow up. What's happened? What's suddenly changed? Because this is unusual. This kind of not everyone gets
No.
second chance. Everyone gets a second chance, but like you guys have. What happened?
So it was basically, in a nutshell, I'm going to make it sound like it's funny because when you see anything, it can be anything in life, a product or a service or whatever. When you see something or someone get success, we all do it. It's just natural. You tend to think they were already at that high level. So because rightfully so, you don't see all the past stuff, all the big climb it took to get there. So
when the blood, sweat, and tears, yeah,
exactly. And when I sort of explain this, it seems like it just happened, but there is a lot to it. But essentially, what the tipping point of getting on top of the mountain peak after climbing up there, I found out that the game was resonating quite well, very well with particularly Xbox players. So, and it sounds probably very obvious this, but at the time, through going back a few years, I didn't really fully understand or get the audience that plays Hypercharge, like who it resonates the best with. Yeah. And it's only as we progressed further in development, added more things from player feedback, features and stuff, that and then we sort of dived more into the story of Hypercharge and action figures and kept molding this game or this piece of art into something more emotional, like I mentioned earlier. And I started seeing that console players, again, specifically Xbox, it would resonate really well. And I just seen somebody in the chat mention it's on Switch. Why didn't it blow up on Switch? I mean, there's numerous reasons to that. But I think it's because Steam, I mentioned this before, Gaz, to you, that it's a sleeping giant. It's amazing. Your game can do really well in it. Evidently so, because Hypercharge is and has. But I think personally, it's actually the worst platform to showcase, to sell on and show to an audience, because of the because of the nature of Hypercharge is. For example, Xbox, I think it's tailor-made for Xbox, because again, when I say the nature of the game, I mean, like, put yourself in the position of being a parent. So Hypercharge has what I call generational nostalgia, where past meets present, like a magical bonding moment between parent and their kid. For example, the parent has grown up with films such as Small Soldiers, games Sarge's Heroes, Toy Commander, other films, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, The Borrowers, all that sort of being a very small scale an action figure. They've grown up with all these memories, and then they get to share those memories or even relive it in the form of a video game by playing Hypercharge with their kid. Their kid gets to experience that moment of their parents' childhood, and their kid also get to share their current experience, because the children are still growing up with Toy Story and obviously action figures. It'll never go out of trend. Toy Story will always be a thing. So this is, you get what I mean? Two experiences get to meet. So you have the parent and the parents and the children. Think about it in terms of Xbox. A lot of games, split screen, unfortunately, is becoming less rare. Hypercharge, you push it quite a lot. And you get to just sit on the couch in the living room, put the Xbox on. It's more difficult to do it on a PC in an office. How do you get the room? Not every, my room's, most people's offices aren't that big. Living rooms are a bit bigger. So you sit down, load up the game on Xbox, split screen, start the co-op campaign, and then there's PvP. It's just it's going to be so easy. And going back to the nature of the game, I think because I would also argue, I think a lot of parents, myself, I'm not a parent, but who grew up sort of in the 90s and whatnot, we definitely all we definitely all played with Xbox. It's like I can go to most people in the public and say, have you heard of an Xbox? I would guarantee most of them will say yes. I know from experience, when I was a decorator, people would ask me stuff about the game at the time. I'd mention Steam. They'd have no idea what Steam is.
Yeah.
Xbox has that more attachment that people just know. So what I mean by that is that it's when parents are seeing Hypercharge and being mentioned to do with Xbox, it creates something else inside. It's like, wow, this will be amazing to play. I used to play this game back on the Xbox when I was younger. It's another nostalgic thing. And I think this is what's happened, where when I posted this tweet, it was this Xbox-specific tweet. It's a really good video clip of the game, and it just caught the right eyes at the right time. It's also luck. But I think the nature of the game, when people did a little bit of digging and saw, wow, action figures being made by just your average Joes, we're not a big corporation, we're 5 indie devs. And that's part of the nostalgia and the evoking emotions as well, because we're just like everybody else. We're just
absolutely
grown dudes. And it just completely exploded.
That's the explosion of Hypercharge into the scene. I think, by and large, based on what you've actually said this just yet, but I'm going to simplify that and say the Xbox crowd is what made Hypercharge big in the socials, because that's the core demographic. Xbox guys are perhaps the most multiplayer centric. They are more into first-person shooters as well and competitive games. That's your main demographic. I would argue that, in fact, out of PC, Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox, it's the Xbox market that suits Hypercharge best. I mean, they're great for everyone, but the crowd is there predominantly on Xbox. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, I agree there. You mentioned the word demographic, and that's a better way to put it. It's definitely that's the right. I think Hypercharge's demographic is more so Xbox, and I think it's because of the things that I said. And I always have to say this. I feel like I do, shouldn't, but it's not favoring consoles or anything, because we're good.
To clarify to everyone here, without a shadow of doubt, what Joe is saying is PlayStation. PlayStation in the ass. Thank you, Joe, for telling us that PlayStation sucks and the Xbox.
I did not say that. PlayStation directors are watching this. I didn't say that.
Okay, so now that we've established your favorite console, and I don't want to get in trouble here, I think people can tell I'm joking, but in terms of that glow up, you've gone, now it's done. Like, it's not done. Your glow up has happened because of Xbox, and it's like that demographic. You've hit the mark there. The right eyes have looked at it. It's doing well on Steam. How is it performing on Switch?
Switch. So we technically launched on Switch first, kind of the full release version on Switch first in 2020. And you have to realize that we didn't have as much experience. I didn't have as much experience with the marketing, but also we had basically no marketing budget at all. I was still working full time as a painter and decorator then. So did the best we could to build up the hype and whatnot. But there still wasn't there has always been an attraction for action figures, or an appeal. People always find it interesting. But Switch it's kept us afloat. It's done well. But the issue with Switch, and most indie developers will agree, and even the bigger developers, is that we went into Switch thinking that would be amazing. There wasn't many first-person shooters on the scene at the time, especially with full gyro support, and all the accessibility stuff we had, split screen, local co-op, PvP co-op. There wasn't hardly any game, and there was a lot less games on the eShop catalog as well. Yeah. So we thought it'd do a lot better, but what we found is it's just the way your game appears on the device itself. It's difficult to be seen, is what I'm getting at. And
that's a problem for indies as well, the visibility on these stores, no?
Oh yeah, well, what's happening now, particularly on the Nintendo Switch, and it's so frustrating, is that you can literally get some games that I don't mean it in a bad. In my opinion, some games on the charts and the eShop are technically not very good. And what they do is someone could get almost like an asset flip out. You know, they could spend 6 months making it, not much effort, put it on the eShop, sell it for at 90% off for 79 pence, and it can come like number 10 in the charts. And the issue with that is, how do other indies compete? Because we don't want to devalue our product. We've had in the past people say, sell it for 80% off. It's like, why do we want to sell something that we spent so much time on, put some money into it for 80 pence or £1 just to get into the shops? That's not a game problem in terms of a product's problem in terms of, is it a good product? That's a flawed system problem in the shop. Yeah, like something does need to change with that, in my opinion.
No, that's terrible.
That's why
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. It's interesting.
Lots of games do it, and it's always a certain type of games. See, if you end up getting enough wish lists from my understanding, on the Switch, people just know. You can basically just keep putting your game on sale every couple of months, and the same games will keep going to the charts. And obviously, if you want to try and get in the charts, you will never overtake that game at that point, because they're just selling that many copies and they're that high already in the charts. You can't do it unless you go even higher discount, 95% or something ridiculous.
Jeez.
There's a little bit more to it, but you can see what I mean by it. It's frustrating. But yeah, basically the Switch is the discoverability and the way people do sales. It's just, I'm sure Hypercharge would do really well if we did some big promotion and did a big sale, but we don't want to devalue our product like that, you know?
Okay. No,
just
fair
for
enough.
comparison,
Absolutely.
Really quickly. Yeah. Obviously, you're not on Xbox and you're not on PlayStation yet, so you can't really talk too much about discoverability on those platforms. But you are on Steam. Is that vastly better than Switch? They've obviously got their own ways of promoting indie games and discoverability. But...
So when we look at the stats at Switch and Steam, taking away what's happened recently, Switch has been very like, we have good connections with the Switch community, like streamers and whatnot. So we've done a lot of promotions with them within our budget. They've looked after us very well. We're very thankful for that. So we've been able to have quite a steady stream of Switch sales. Also, I don't think you can refund games on Switch yet. Nintendo's policy. So it's been very steady. We sold quite a lot on Switch for our team size. Quite a big. So in terms of our lifespan up till now, Switch has sold quite a big percentage. But Steam is more, it can be slow and then it can just go boom, slow, boom. It's just, Switch isn't terrible. It's just very, drip feed is the word I'm looking for. It's very sort of drip feed type. It's just, it never kind of stops. It's just a constant low, where Steam can be so high, then go so low, and it's just weird.
Yeah. Well, I didn't, in terms of the I think you'll find the it remains to be seen how Xbox fares and how the PlayStation handle the discoverability of it. I think they will push it on the forefront. I think the quite senior members of the Xbox team have also acknowledged Hypercharge as well, and we talk about a potential Game Pass deal in the works. A game like this could make Xbox look like it has some games. On that point though, when is it actually coming out on Xbox, for the people who keep asking?
So we plan to release it on Xbox Q1 2023. So when I say Q1, I'm probably the end of Q1, like March, maybe March, April, beginning of Q2. It could be earlier. It just depends. Like I always say, we want to first impressions count. Yeah. And in our position, not through greed, but every sale also counts. In order for us to make this amazing game everybody wants, it is a business. We have to make a living. We have to have food on the table. So it may be a little bit longer, but we want to have we want to give Xbox players the best version of Hypercharge possible. What we don't want to do is launch the game where we're not comfortable with it being sort of polished or finished in certain bits where we would have liked it to be done so. And then once we get all that big buzz of that first announcement, the first impression, and then months after we would launch, a big major update. Maybe we get some traction, but it's so important to get it right the first time.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I think we owe it to the fans of Xbox, especially with what we've all been through these past few months, to just we're going to give it our best shot anyway. So, but there's a lot of people, guys, who are saying now some of the troll faces are coming out and saying things like, what is it now? It's funny. Oh, it's too far away too far away. Everyone's going to forget about it then. There's so many games. And I'm like, what? Just piss off. I feel like saying, like, what are you talking about? Again, pressure, rush. It's the same type of toxic gamers who, when a game, it's like, launch the game now, and then you launch it now, the game's dead. It's like, well, you told us, you bullied us into launching it. That's why it had no marketing, why it wasn't polished. You can't win.
Yep.
So
you can't win. You can't win. It's like, oh, you should have delayed it. The game is broken. Why'd you rush it? And if they don't launch it, it's like, we've always been a proponent of release it when it's ready and delay games.
And I don't mean perfection. There's no such thing as perfection. Is there going to be
obviously? Yeah.
Probably. Will it be a perfected version? No, it'll be the best version possible within our talent and capabilities that we can offer. But one thing we will not do is launch it. And for any toxic gamers out there who say just launch it now and get a little bit arsey with it, you're getting muted. All right, I didn't realize on Twitter you can actually mute people, and it's a really good way because they're just shouting out in the wind. So that's what I do now. I don't block, I mute.
I think mute is better on Twitter than block anyway. There's a lot of people like, oh, he blocked me. I just take that as a badge of honor, which is so weird to me.
Ask one more slightly disconnected question, if that's all right. You spoke earlier about not wanting to like really heavily discount the game because you value your work and things like that, which is fair enough. We have quite ongoing conversations on this show week by week on how you'd value a game and what they should be priced at. Can you give us any insight into how you and your team arrived at the price point for Hypercharged? Where does that come from? What goes into the thought process?
So there's many articles about this, but from our point of view, it's like you've got to think, I think you have to sort of measure the economy to a certain extent. Like the thing is, not to sound in a, what's the word? You might know a better word, Gaz. Not to not in a I can't think of the word. People will always have money to spend, and people will always spend money, even in recessions we've had. There's people always who will spend money. So like when I said you have to sort of, it's wise to measure the economy on a bigger platform, say like Steam, for example, because in certain times people are less inclined to spend money. And you could look at it from a business point of view or a sort of a moral point of view. Like, okay, do I want to give somebody the best shot at buying this game without being so heavily invested in terms of their wallet, spending money? Or do we just put the game at a real high price and know that people will spend money no matter what? Because like I said, people will always spend money, and if it's a good game, the question is really, will a good product sell more copies at a very high price versus a low price? And if you sell a very good game at a lower price, do you undersell your game? Do you make less of a profit? I think that's kind of the big generalization of it. And that's why I mentioned, like, if you know a game will sell no matter what because of the status of it, the reputation, and it's a good product, would you still do it at a high price? So in our position, like one thing we've spoken about, we do want to assess the current climate of the financial climate. We understand, even though people always spend money, it's difficult, especially what's happened. Everything's going up in the world. It's crazy. Yeah. And in my opinion, I for Hypercharge, we will likely increase the price when we go on Xbox because there's going to be so much more content added up until then. We think feel it will be fair. But we will never. I don't think we would ever go to a price that is ridiculously high where we feel it's hard. You see, because what would you also define as an indie price? The perception of indies changing in negative and positive ways. For example, a lot of people think our game's made by a AAA company. Should we charge a AAA price? I'm not saying what's right or wrong there. It's just, what you have to ask yourself. But as a team, we have thought, let's do a price where it's kind of in the middle, where we feel it's not too expensive. Maybe we believe it's worth more in terms of the artwork we have painted, so to speak.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we want people to have more of a chance to have a bit of money spare at the end of the month. And in the process, if it's a little bit in that, what we call fair, again, it's subjective, but fair price point, I think from a marketing perspective, I know what this happens to me. If I play a game that's really good and I don't feel I've heavily invested my wallet into it, I'm far more likely to recommend it to a group of friends because I know they're going to be more encouraged or incentivized to purchase it because they're not as emotionally invested in terms of money. So I think I answered the question you said there. I've forgotten what it was.
Let me. I just want to really quickly, so that what you spoke on there is how we'd like to see prices set, because you're a developer you're self-publishing on Steam and you're setting this price according to what you feel you've built and what's going to fit in the market. And it's very, very different to a scenario that a lot of studios with a big publisher face, where they get told your game's going to be $70, make content for that price. And that's the situation that we don't want to see anyone in. I also need to, there's a lot of people in chat, I already know the answer to this because I know you spoke about it on XNC with Gaz and probably a few other places, but a lot of people in chat are asking the big Game Pass question. Can you just speak on that for us as well?
Say that again, sorry, I missed that.
A lot of people in chat are asking the big Game Pass question. What are the chances of Hypercharge coming on to Game Pass, Xbox Game Pass, when it launches?
It all depends on the chats we probably soon will have with Xbox. We've not spoken to them yet after all that's happened. We know they're watching, but it all depends. Again, my knowledge of it is limited. We need to have a chat with Xbox and the team. But essentially, from my understanding, is Xbox could say, here's said amount of money, come on Xbox for 12, say, months, hypothetically speaking. But then we have to assess as a team, what will happen after those 12 months? Will we sell any more copies? Or is Hypercharge just going to be forgotten about? Could we have sold more copies through our marketing, what we've been doing, not go on Game Pass? Could the longevity of Hypercharge be better if we don't just take a big sum of money? If you see what I mean. It's something we just have to think about. And it's not through greed. It's just through every sale truly counts in our position that we have to think about it. So it's basically a large sum of potential money versus a trickle of stable money where people may not just jump off Hypercharge after it's off Game Pass, if you get where I'm going with it. But yeah, Hypercharge is definitely a possibility. It's in the end, the ball is in Xbox's court. It's up to them if they feel the game is a good fit for it. I think it is a good fit for it. I mean, I think everyone does. Hopefully they're seeing everybody mentioning it. I'll be honest, I would like a big bag of money just so
we all would
help some people out, I think I promised Gaz some money and Wandering Dutch and
you promised $1 million. That's fine. I remember the number. It's okay. It's fine.
It's a possibility. It is a possibility.
Yeah.
And in terms of me first. I'm just putting in, sorry. In terms of longevity of the title, you've obviously got a whole load more content coming in for the Xbox launch. You've got a PlayStation launch down the road as well. What are the plans for the game to keep it running? Is there going to be additional content? Is it going to be monetized in any way? How's Hypercharge going to go forward? So the future of Hypercharge will be, we launch an Xbox, and then we have an endless survival mode planned. And there'll be some quality of life updates, but then we'll launch on PlayStation, and then hopefully we're going to get, we've partially got it working, but hopefully we can get cross-platform support across all platforms if we can technically do it. If there's a way, we will find a way to do it. We really want people to just play with each other on whatever platform. And then I think
you know, we've been working on Hypercharge, since 2015, and it's been a long time, and it's been an emotional time. It's been very difficult, ups and downs, lots of tears, more pizza, even more tears. Honestly, it's been a cliche thing. It has been one hell of a roller coaster ride. So I think at some point we would like to, we'll never abandon Hypercharge, but at some point we want to be able to work on our dream sort of game that we've always wanted to do. I won't go into too much detail, but it will be awesome. So I think probably after 2023, once we get everything in place where we want, once we have polished the game and listened to feedback through more console players, Xbox, PlayStation, we'll probably say, look, we feel this is. It's very hard to. How do you define? Let's talk about definitions. How do you define a finished game nowadays? Even when it's not free to play, people look at paid for games as a monetization sort of system or live service. It's difficult, but we'll get to a point where we think this piece of art that we've built is good enough, and we're happy with it as well. So we'll get to that point probably 2023, I think, and then say
I hope so.
we're gonna take our toolbox away from it, focus on something else, not abandon it. We'll never abandon it. And work on the next thing, because as much as I love Hypercharge, I've said this before, if you've read all the articles about what we've been through, it's all online, people can search that. It very is much a turd rolled in diamonds. It's not been an easy ride, and it does have a bit of a stinky past as well. So I think we all will be glad to close the chapter on it, not burn it or shred it, but just close the chapter.
Yeah.
So, but we'll finish make it the best version possible, then go on to something else, which is going to be absolutely awesome. And I'm sure the next thing we do is going to go massively viral as well. So,
and when does that come out on Xbox?
The new thing. I can't say. I don't even know, to be honest.
So hopefully in 2023, that's when Tencent buys Hypercharge. The retirement comes in early. Let me read these super chats, everyone. Thank you so much for the super chats. Red Wolf, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. He goes, tell me why I got banned for an entire week for recording a game clip from Agony. And I know of someone who took a picture of their junk and sent it to 30 plus people on Xbox and only got a 48-hour ban. Shake my head. What is Agony? Is that a weird, hell game? I don't know, Red Wolf. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know who reported you and why you would get reported for a game clip of a game you're playing on the Xbox. But it sounds pretty stupid. Phase 23, Brooklyn, New York. Thank you so much for the generous $20 super chat. It goes, minus 2.4 million shipped. PS5 lifetime sales to 21.7 million sold. Minus 47.3 million PlayStation Plus subscribers. There's a deficit there on PSN with 102 million. Minus 47.1 million games sold. And they're all being refunded. I know what you're doing there. For PSN. You're throwing all these numbers out there, Face. And I know why you're throwing all these numbers out there. Because you saw the title of the show, you saw the news, and you came here to do some damage limitation. But lucky for our viewers and you, I'm here to give you a little bit of context. It's PlayStation is up! That's right. They're announcing a massive decline. They've got revenue has gone down. PlayStation is dead. No, it's not dead. It's the reason why we want to talk about it. Let's talk about it now, since Face, you've introduced this topic. PlayStation's revenue or profits have gone down pretty substantially, and Sony itself, despite all your minus sales, Sony has warned of a PlayStation business, the games sales wobbling a little bit because they're down. What was it? 37%. What was the figure? The revenue
first person
went down.
one was 26%. That's the biggest standout stat in the report for me. Everything was down, but first party sales were down 26%.
Wow. Why? Why are first-party sales? Because I thought PlayStation guys love their first-party exclusives. Why are they down so low? And they've had a pretty strong year. That's what the PlayStation community tell me. Gran Turismo, then you've got Horizon, Forgotten West, and then you've got God of War coming later, which will do well, I'm sure. Why have the sales gone down? Asa, bless us with some knowledge before I go to Hargeet, who drops some source.
Well, so Xbox obviously had their fiscal results last week as well, and they've also had a decline in most areas. And both companies have put it down to people coming out of the pandemic and going out of their houses more. So there was a big boom in gaming that saw everybody rise for a little while, and things are kind of normalizing and dipping a little bit again. They've all still got their supply constraints, especially Sony. They've still got constraints on their consoles, and they kept drumming home in their report that their priority is like, we need to get more of these consoles in people's hands. We can't make enough. Like I say, the standout, most worrying stat, though, for me, the only worrying stat is that 26%, because that's the kind of dip that their shareholders will expect a response to. Numbers going down.
What would the response be?
Well, they've already started it in their shift towards live service games and things like that is the response. It's a change of strategy, and they said in their fiscal response as well, more live service games, more PC games, all of these things to try and compensate. For me, that's not good news to hear, because I don't want Sony to stop doing what they're good at. But that 26% is a massive hit, and there will be a lot of pressure on them to stop doing what they're good at. I think so. I don't know. That's the gist of it. So take it from there.
That's an excellent way to set up the topic. Hargeet.
Yeah.
Those one and done games may be disappearing faster than. Well, it's not going to disappear. Well, actually, no, I want to be saucy. What's going on? Asa is right. That's a massive hit on profit. And Face SEO response, I'll talk about that in a bit. But that's a massive dip there. And the shareholders will want a response. And we've already, straight from the horse's mouth, Jim Ryan, the manifesto is clear. More live service games, more multiplayer centric. What is that?
And
Is that why they're charging that $70 for the remake? Because they're like, we need the money.
That could be something. So one thing that's interesting, right, is that everything Asa said is absolutely right. That is essentially what's happening. The industry as a whole is going to have a dip. That's just the way it is. People are spending money on other things. They're going out. That's happening now, right? So we certainly got a bump because everybody was locked inside. Hey, video games is a good entertainment vehicle. There was a bump up because of that. Fair enough. And everybody understood that was going to happen. Sony had told us about it. Microsoft told us about it. This wasn't shocking. It's Microsoft's weren't as bad. And that's the part that is a bit shocking. We shouldn't have expected PlayStation to dip as much, especially in a year where they did release, Horizon. You would expect that to do well, but it didn't. That is a bit of a concern. And so you have to wonder, is that $70 thing a thing? Now, there is another mitigating factor. Both of their games launched right around Elden Ring, and Elden Ring kind of ate everything else. Yeah, so that could be a thing. And I don't know that it is or isn't, right? It's been many months since then. They've had an opportunity. Elden Ring kind of, has been played by a lot of people. Maybe they finished it. Maybe they went on, and they had a chance to then go buy those two other games. And MLB The Show also came out, which is a perennial annual game, right? But it is something that they should expect their normal sales. They didn't sell as well, though, and that is kind of a concerning thing, right? So whether that's a blip that, hey, we're coming out of the pandemic and people didn't want to buy those games and play those, or if it's hey, this is a trend, because now we're really hitting those $70 games, because up to now there haven't really been that many $70 games that Sony put out, because they had the $60 version, right? And then we're starting to get to that, hey, I'm buying the $70 version now, and maybe that is a problem. Maybe fewer people want to pay the $70 and they're waiting for a sale. That is a potential, right? And maybe over the fall timeframe when they hit the holidays, those games will start selling and picking up. That'd be good for them. We don't want those games to start falling off, because the numbers we're looking at, it's back to like that, what was the Bend game, Days Gone, that they were like, well, that wasn't enough sales, so we're not going to go on, right? Well, we don't want to have that happen to these big studios, right? So I hope that isn't the end of this story, but that is concerning. I think that is concerning, and I think Asa hit it. It's the live service games that's going to fund all this. It's bringing games to PC that's going to fund all this, right? Because if they don't do that, right, and they know it, they're seeing it. If they don't do that, these games that take longer and longer and longer and longer to make, cost more and more money to make. They just need to bring in more money to be able to make those games. It's just the way it is. Live service games, whether people like it or not, microtransaction games, whether people like it or not, they generate billions in revenue. They know that money is absolutely necessary to fund the rest of it, right? And they're seeing Microsoft with very few games. It doesn't matter. Those games are making them money. They're making money. It's just the way it is, right? Even with a very small amount of very, like prominent games, but they're live service, they just keep making money. And that is something they're seeing. And they're like, we got to do the same thing. We got to have the tentpole games that just bring in the money. The other thing they got to see is like this, if it happens, I don't know if it does or doesn't, people will associate Call of Duty with Xbox, and Call of Duty is a cash cow. Whether it's the microtransactions, even the game itself, but the microtransactions brings in a lot of money for Sony. And if people start associating that with Xbox, because they will, it's going to be their property if this goes through, then that is a revenue hit for them too, right?
Yeah.
So that live service thing is not like something out of nowhere. They know they need that kind of thing to keep themselves going.
Absolutely.
So there's some concerns here. It's not the end of the world. This is like, we expected some of this. It is kind of interesting that there's a 37% hit to their profits. Part of that I could look, when you're making hardware these days, unfortunately, yes, the pandemic might be kind of over, but the supply chain woes are not over. And so when you have to get things on a spot market, which is what they have to do, things that might have cost $1 might cost you 50, and that can just hit your profits. It just does, right? And shipping costs have gone through the roof. Inflation along with fuel costs, right? Everything is going up. So that hits your profit. It just does. And a bigger company like Microsoft can take that a little easier. Whereas, for Sony, this is a big deal. Like, this is a profit center for them. It's a big profit center for them.
Absolutely.
So it can totally hit their bottom line. And I'm sure it's something that they're thinking about. And that's why the software part of it, if software isn't offsetting those costs, it's going to be a problem. That's why they're moving to that live service thing. That's why the Bungie deal happened, right? They're looking for that stream of revenue to come in. Yeah,
absolutely.
Right, to offset some of this stuff. And I've heard people talk about maybe this is, investments. No. And in most, corporations, they take the profit statement before investments. They then tell the investors, hey, I'm going to invest it here, 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 and here. You'll get this much after all the investments, right? So they will take their profit. They'll say, we made this much. So no, they really didn't hit those marks. They really are hitting their profit line for other reasons. It's usually costs or revenue loss. And the revenue loss wasn't that high. I think it was like 2% delta or something like that, which it's down, but it's not terrible. But the profit, I think it's just those kind of, worldwide things, pandemic, inflation, fuel costs, component costs, things like that. Not enough software sales, but continuing to sell hardware. They're heavy demand for hardware, right?
The hardware sales are really high, like Face mentioned. Yeah, they're very good.
So I'm not here to pile on them, but anyway, I know people want me to, and I'm not going to pile on them. This is concerning for the industry. Like, if those kind of games are not being bought, that's kind of bad for the industry, right? We want to have those games be bought, and so they might have to consider how do they fund them, and I think they already are. I think those live service games are the answer, and that will allow them to continue to fund those games, so we can get more God of Wars, get more Horizon games, stuff like that. We should hopefully keep getting them. I want Ghost of Tsushima too. I love that game. I would love to continue playing those kind of games. So we'll see. But PC live service games, they're going to have to do more and more of that closer to launch instead of these multi-year later. I think PC is going to have to be more like 6 months later, if not day and date, to try to get more money out of that side too.
Really well said and really well summarized there. I don't really need to add to that. But as I'm listening to all of what you've said, just gives more impetus for them to release on PC closer or day and day. More of that, more of live service, which they've said all of this. It's not, people like in the PlayStation community get really hung up about this, but if it's coming from the horse's mouth and you're the pony's mouth, and you're ignoring it, and it's like the profit margins are there. Like one thing you mentioned, Hargeet, which is a great point, and I think people need to understand this. Sony and PlayStation versus Microsoft and Xbox, two different kettle of fish. It, like you said, PlayStation is Sony's business through and through. That they need it to survive.
Yep.
Microsoft doesn't even need Xbox.
Nope.
But obviously it's made some chunky investments, of which you can see from Hargeet's background. So they are going to feel that really strongly. And they've talked about an estimation of, I don't know how many, 20 million or something generated from PC sales. And that suggests that in order to even attain that kind of sales, those games need to be on PC, the big AAAs, sooner. You also mentioned a great point about, and Asa, you mentioned this, we don't want these games to go. These Ghost of Tsushima's, the big, the single player sad dad games, you know what I mean, to go, because they are the pinnacle of what PlayStation offers, and they're great experiences. But instead of viewing live service as this all encompassing bad guy, see them as, like you said, Hargeet, ways to facilitate the development of these other core franchises. So great point. And it's not just PlayStation. So Xbox's revenue went down as well. The difference is Xbox can take that hit much more comfortably than PlayStation. But it's a multitude of things. Like you said, hardware, component issues, COVID, people are going out. Asa went out today for the first time in a long time and had children. We had cheesecake. We had shisha. Asa choked a little bit on it, but then he could smoke it properly. It was fun. It was fun.
Do you know who
to
else
touch
choked?
grass.
Gaz choked, and it was really funny.
Ace is a violent man. That's all I will say. He's a violent man. I've never been choked so hard. I actually thought I was going to pass out. Facts. And there's a reason why Asa came round to mine, because we have something very special in the works for you. A show that will be, you, especially all of you in the community, will love it. It gives just more community time. Watch out. Watch this space. And Ace in a suit. Woo! I've said too much. But yeah, no, a great chat. And Face, I hope that tackles the question. You mentioned games like the Horizon and whatever, they didn't factor into this. But someone else in chat also mentioned Colin Moriarty was right. The Last of Us didn't sell hardly at all, considering the pedigree. 10 million or something, not good enough. So there's a conversation to be had there. Joe, I know you're just nose deep in Hypercharge, and sales is probably not going to be a good chat. But why are we talking about that 70 the price chat? We've had developers on. We've had Micros on, who's No More Robots. He's a publisher. We've had Thomas Sala, who made the Falconeer, and we asked them about the $70 price thing. And Micro said it was a fucking piss take. That's how he described it. Very, very, as a publisher, if anyone can justify it, a $70 price tag, he could. But he was like, it's a piss take. It's such an entitled price, he called it. What's your take, briefly, on the $70 price tag? Especially in this day and age.
It's a lot of money. But I don't think I've ever bought a game that costs that much money. It's weird, isn't it? Because I think, look into it, why haven't I bought a game that's $70? And it may well be a really good game. I'm trying to think of some games years ago that were quite really expensive, relatively speaking, maybe $60, $50. But I wouldn't even pay that much, to be honest. Why wouldn't I? I've been in a position, even with the decorating, where I could afford it. It wouldn't financially break me for the month. But why wouldn't I spend it? And I think I can't really answer it, to be honest. I'm trying to work out why I, as a consumer who likes video games, wouldn't spend that much money on a game. Why do I wait for it to go on sale? Is it because I feel it's not worth it? But I do feel some games are worth... maybe that's it. Do I feel a good game? Maybe it's the wrong question. I'm getting philosophical here. Do I feel a game is worth $70 if it's a good product versus is it worth sort of all that money or worth my money? I can't get my head around it. I'm confusing myself. I don't know, but
no, it's fine. It's fine. It's just a general.
I can't really answer it properly. Like, I don't spend that much money on it, and I'm trying to be honest with myself, and I'm trying to work out why, and I can't. There's something I think inherently, maybe I don't know if wrong's the right word, but something doesn't feel right clearly because I've never done it in all my years of having my own bank account and like in video games where I've never, and even now I won't, not through being a tight ass because I'm not, I'm really not. I still wouldn't spend that much money on a video game, even if it was a good game. I just wouldn't do it, and it isn't to sort of shit in the face, pardon me, French, of the developers, because again, the developers, let's make this very clear, work very hard to make these games that cost $70. It's not their fault. It's the big people above who are setting these price tags. So, like, I think it does feel like a big kick in the face, really, because there's also another issue I think we need to address is that, and it goes back to my point where I said there's always people who will spend money, and it's a consumer issue as well, where if games are still selling for that high price because a big percentage of consumers are paying that price, and the only way it can go down is, and it'll never happen, but is if people came together and were like, you know what, we're not spending this much money on the game because we for whatever reason, but people are spending it that much money, so they're part of the problem in a way. And maybe I'm making it sound simple, but you sort of get what I mean with it. But I think it's not. So when I say I think it's too much money, I don't mean that. I don't mean that in the sense to devalue developers' work. Everybody who works on a video game, it's not that. I want them to do well, but I think it's the fact that this is what I mean. Big, massive AAA titles, the profits they make, they could make that profit or so much profit. Where do you draw a line in the sand with the profit? They could make so much money either way. And the thing is, when they're selling it for $70, a lot of developers are still getting underpaid. They're not getting what they should do. They're being poorly sort of treated, in my opinion. We've seen that countless times when things come out, about QA testers and things like that, the hours, the work, the overtime, the pressure. Are they compensated well enough from the big games? Can they compensate them better? Of course they can, especially when they're selling at that price. And if consumers are willing to pay the price. So clearly they're just after big fat profits, aren't they? Where it's just ridiculous, obscene amount.
There's greed because if not, everyone is doing it, and the money doesn't go back to developers. People are like, "Oh, do you know? I thought you cared about developers. So do you really think the profits go straight to the devs if they charge at that price?" It's really just maximizing, squeezing more out of it. But as Asa always has said, probably you'd benefit from more sales and possibly more money at the end of it anyway if you priced it appropriately, especially times like this where we've got massive recession, inflation.
It's not that simple because they Sony charging $70 quid for their games are going to skim a certain amount of money from people that are willing to pay that, and at some point in time they will be lower. So it's not as simple as they would definitely make more money at a lower price, but I mean, it would be great to live in a world where companies like that would look at prices and go like, what's the fair and ethical thing to do with these game prices? But that's not the world. Their job is to make as much money as possible. So you can get nice indie development studios that self-publish games like Hypercharge, and they can look at prices and say, we want to be reasonable within the marketplace, and we want to look at like what's fair for our consumer, and we want to give them good value. But that's not what Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo need to do, because they've got shareholders and they need to go, how much can we squeeze out of these pricks? It's a sad reality. So
it's true.
I mean, look at the thing, like it's the same thing, isn't it, guys, with what's going on with Shell and all the is it the British gas prices, like the profits they've made. It's criminal, really. It's like, wait a minute, everybody's struggling, and everybody's struggling, and it's the same in like other departments. Like, and then it gets a bit upsetting when you think about video games in terms of the release and the mental health side, how much it helps people, a positive escape from this, the real world, and then it's making that harder to access. as well. So again, it's just pure greed and profit and pleasing the fat cats up top, rather than thinking, how can we help the working person? And
wow.
It's also the reputation it can do as well. Like, I think you don't have, in my opinion, and maybe I am simple for saying this, there's probably more to it, but it's also about you don't have to set a massive price tag to make a massive profit. There's other ways around it if you use your head, and that's having a little bit of empathy, a little bit of morality about things. There's companies out there that also do this, where take other video games look at Valheim, look at these other massive games. They thought about the price tag. Clearly, they didn't go massively huge. You could argue Valheim could have gone $60, $50. They didn't. They went. It was like $20. Look how much they've sold. I know you can say hindsight, but clearly that game was going to sell a lot. The nature of the game. So, but I reckon it's a strategic thing and the thought about it. But not many people think about the moral side of it, and
especially in business.
I'm glad we do. We've been brought up with having so little, and we know what it's like having a lot. I don't really know. It's just I won't spend that much money on a video game. Put it that way.
Yeah.
And if we ever sold a game for £70, I would protest in the team, and I would not allow it. And none of us on the team would ever allow that much to be that.
Unless inflation made £70 the equivalent of 10 today, but
which could happen. Things are going, but the way inflation's going, that pound is looking weak. But Joe Whitmer, with the $2 super chat, goes Bionicle-like skin. Joe, he is asking for more, and we talked about this. Skins. People want skins. You're gonna have the pressure like Fortnite. They will want Master Chief on Xbox. They want to play as Master Chief. I know you said you don't want to sell too many skins because you want to keep the toy vibe, but the pressure's gonna mount, and then you're gonna sell the Master Chief skin for £70. But thank you for that, Joe, for that super chat. Sorry, I deleted a name. Is it Joe? John. Sorry, John. Peter Morland, thanks for being a member for 7 months. What color is that badge? I don't remember. It says no happy birthday message, Gaz. Which is funny because your birthday. Where'd you get this information? Pile in with the birthday wishes. Asa needs a shout in October. Peter, who are you? Who are you? Z Black Rider, thank you so much for the Canadian $5 because I muted everyone on Twitter and life is good. Congratulations, Joe. Thank you, Z Black Rider. I think the mute is the way forward. Rims with being a member for 3 months. Shout out to you, Rims. He goes, evening to you, fine gentlemen. A good way to end a Saturday every week. Keep up the good work. Thank you. And for all the members who are actually members, you will have seen my Max Payne video we came out early. You will also now see Asa's video on Square Enix. Interesting. And you get to see it 2 days before everyone else. I was releasing on Monday. But if you remember, you can watch it now. An incredible video. And an HDR, which I saw on my TV with Asa here, and it looks better than the actual game. I didn't know YouTube can render at that encode at that level. Hardly anyone. I have not hardly seen anyone do HDR videos, especially in the gaming space. Do Digital Foundry even do HDR, Asa?
I'm not going to get into that too much. There's reasons not to. They have valid reasons not to do it. But if you have a chance to watch this video on a TV with HDR,
no. Asa, this is time
incredible.
To beat your chest and say, I do HDR. No one does HDR content, but we do. I only do 1080p. I don't even do anything more than that. But Asa does. Asa does HDR, where he's trying to be nice, but saying, check out the video and watch it on your TV. It's insane quality if you watch an OLED. The video's out for members today. It'll be out on Monday for everyone. But shout out to Asa. ACS Husk, how are you? Thank you so much for the $5 super check. Goes, fun fact, sauce isn't just for covering up crappy cooking. It's just vital condiment. It can also be used for bathing or inducing fanboy tears that are delicious in Bloody Marys. That's That's definitely another way. That's kind of what I do with the source. But shout out to you, Husk. Dead Planet, thank you with the $5 super check. Sony's bread and butter is their software. Why couldn't they drop the pain of console manufacturing and become the biggest publisher on the planet? Because, Dead, it goes in with their hardware as well. The hardware, the identity of PlayStation is linked in with their hardware. If they go software only, some people are thinking that will happen, like
Sega,
King David, and Hargeet. Is that you? Do you think Sony will go?
I mean, that's what happened to Sega, isn't it?
So, well, Sega, look where they've ended up. But what's your take?
Please don't wish that on Sony. Don't send them the route of Sega. I used to like Sega.
You're going to destroy our dreams? Do you really think it's going to be PlayStation will end up one day being...
I mean, look, long term, I think the hardware thing will be different. So we should get used to that idea. It's not going to be like in the next 5 years, but long term, there will be a change, right? Because like your phones are getting more and more powerful. Your TVs are getting more and more powerful, right? At some point, you just won't need the bloody box. Your TV can do it, right? Your TV mixed with cloud tech, with abilities it'll have locally, it can just play the games. And at that point, why do you need another box? You've got one. It's called your TV, right? Your display device could just do what you need. So I don't know when that's going to be. That might be 15 years. That might be 10 years, right? Because tech keeps getting better and better year by year. So when we get there, now it's been sort of slowed down with the chip shortages, so we'll see if that extends it. Maybe we do get another gen, but I think at some point, Sony will also just say, we're just targeting our TVs. You can buy a TV that's compatible with Sony, and it'll just work. And that's the way you go. Or like Microsoft is going to make a little stick or something like that, whatever that that you can plug into a TV, and then the rest of it is kind of handled by cloud. Because, there's still latency things. People want that latency thing, but that's the processing you do local. The rest of it, you just send to cloud.
Yeah. Well, so there's interesting comments in the chat there. So John Dunn actually says, eventually hardware will become niche like physical games will. That's an interesting take.
It will,
someone asked the question. Oh, yeah, Dead Planet. He goes, so what will set the big three apart? A controller? Well, the games. Eventually.
Ecosystem. Ecosystem will be the thing that sets them apart. Just like Netflix or Disney Plus or HBO Max, right? You have options to pick any one of those at any time. That's what'll set them apart is to keep you in the system. They will give you something for that ecosystem, right? So that's what'll keep them apart. Yes, controllers could be a thing, but I think once you're on a third-party device, it could be any controller, right? And it's up to you to make a controller that people want, right? So
absolutely. Gunstar, thank you with the £5 super chat. You never lived through the Neo Geo games or car accelerated virtual racing. Sorry?
I said, oh my God, Neo Geo. Those things, it was so expensive. I don't know if you guys remember
and that's why he brings it up, because look, we complain about the price there, and I think some was that fanboy Foxy was talking about it. It was like, oh well, we paid this much for it, so it was okay. It wasn't. Look at what happened to the Neo Geo. And they were on hardware, and they were on cartridges. What's the justification for a $70 digital only game being priced at that without all the manufacturing physical costs? Doesn't make sense. It doesn't scale. That's the thing. But thank you everyone for your super chats. That's been interesting topics there. Now, sales and all that stuff. Let's talk about some games, or a game that has been delayed again. Xbox's 2022 looks absolutely because it just doesn't catch a break. And I swear to God, if you say Power Wash Simulator and Peppa Pig were the ones, and then Warhammer Darktide, a game that I was looking forward to. I know a lot of people, me, Cole, Dealer, and Zorka were looking forward to. I'm sure you were as well, Hargeet. Has been delayed. Now, if they need to delay the game, they'll delay the game. But that hurts, man. Like, I know everything's getting delayed, but it still hurts. Hargeet, Warhammer Darktide. The funny thing about this is, and this is what I find interesting, a lot of people in the Xbox community were a bit pissed off by this. It's a time, like there's a partnership with Xbox for this game. Yet this game is coming out in November on PC, and late, soon, later. No definitive date for the Xbox release, but you can be pretty much sure. I'm pretty confident that this is a 2023 release.
Yep.
Is it?
Yeah, no, it's funny. I was talking to Zocker and Colt, and I'm like, I don't think you should take any releases that are on the schedule for granted, because, look, Lord of the Rings was supposed to come out, Gollum was supposed to come out September 1st. That got pushed out. I'm like, and they were telling me, no, Darktide should be good. We've seen gameplay. I'm like, I don't know, man. Not one day later. Delayed.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
oh, really? Literally the next day?
The next day it's delayed. And I'm like I just don't trust anything. Like Gotham Knights is supposed to come out in the late October. I don't know. Maybe that'll get pushed out. I have zero hope that Hogwarts comes out this year. Maybe it does.
Yeah.
We're hearing rumors of December 6th, but they haven't put it out there yet. And there's got to be a reason they haven't put it out there. So I would expect many games to just get delayed, even if it's a few weeks, a month. But I think people are starting to learn the lessons of the two big games that should have been delayed that didn't: Cyberpunk, and then Halo. Halo came out banging, right? It was great. Like they're like, we'll polish it to the point where it's great at launch, and then we'll fix it later to give you content. That didn't work either, right? Yeah. So like learning those lessons, finally people are starting to see, no, we got to get to a point where the game is workable, and then it'll sustain. And hopefully that is a lesson people have learned, and they will not put the game up. But I don't know if everybody has. Right. Yeah. But I think a lot of companies are seeing the PR disaster, and it's like, well, is this really necessary? If your bottom line is hurting, fine. But if you can sustain it, take the time, make sure you're ready, and that you can meet the commitment that your customers will want, and then release the game. I hope that's what's happening, but you're seeing more and more and more delays across the board, and it's becoming an issue. And I think, from a development perspective, we seem to think that we're out of the COVID headache. I don't think we are. Mm-hmm. I think that is permanently changing the dev cycle, and it's not a shortening. It's a much larger issue now. It's becoming much longer. Microsoft has it even worse, where they're saying no crunch. Right? It's a corporate mandate, no crunch. That is going to extend your dev cycle. There's just no way around that, right? I like the fact that they're doing that, right, from a human perspective. But okay, if you want those timelines to meet, it's gonna extend, right? Ooh. I mean, you could think that Starfield, Bethesda normally would have a crunch, and they were like, nope, you can't have a crunch. So guess what? Delayed. Right. I mean, it's just the way it is, right? Think about those things. There are impacts for those decisions. But again, from a human perspective, I like it. I think, we should have, work-life balance. This is gaming after all. This is not, the end of the world. And I know you think otherwise, fair enough. Right. And I don't know if you caught Risket's podcast yesterday, but they had a developer on, and they talked specifically about that piece. And, their answer to that is the industry is changing to the point where developers are saying, no, you want crunch, I'm leaving. And so that is becoming the standard now. They used to take it, and now they're saying, no. I need my life. I don't care. This is your game. I'll work as long as you work within my confines of 40 hours. If you want to go beyond that, no. So
even if you pay me extra,
depends, right? It depends on how much you pay extra, because a lot of times they don't pay extra, right? Sometimes it is paid, sometimes it isn't, and so because sometimes you're salaried, sometimes you're hourly, and even in there, they're like, yeah, but I don't want this for like 6 months, right? I'll do this for a week. Right. And then that's about it. Right. And so it's changing. The industry is changing. You're starting to see
COVID has made people realize about
exactly. Like you
balance.
Can work from home. Right. And they're like, OK, well, and that might cause a whole bunch of headaches. I know that. Right. So that's fine. But people are starting to realize that my life matters, and it's not just about the work. And that is changing this industry. Right. So you're hearing even from Japanese developers that, no, we won't accept these stupid working conditions.
Japan.
Anymore. Exactly. And like you're starting to hear murmuring from them that no,
that's
we won't
crazy.
Take it. And
that's
then
crazy.
Like 60 hours is normal. They don't care. That's normal, right? And you're like, okay, they're starting to say, maybe not, right? Let's start thinking about this, right? So I think industry wide there's going to be more and more of this. So I don't know how that's going to impact game dev. But that's where things are, and I just keep seeing delays. It's okay. I mean, I still have plenty of games in my backlog to play. That's fine, but it is disappointing. It's very disappointing, right? I think Nintendo ends up with their own studios making one game this year, and that's like I mean, Nintendo, they make so many games all the time. Like Nintendo, I still haven't found the next Mario game. When's that coming out? I don't know when the heck that's coming out, right? Zelda Breath of the Wild, it's been delayed 2 years now. Like, okay, and this is just becoming normal, right? So I don't know. Maybe there needs to be some sort of industry thought as to what's going on here. We're getting charged more money for more inconvenience. It's taking longer to get games.
More money,
and we'll see what we get.
Often for less product, I find.
Exactly, right? Because they're just putting out whatever they can, right? And, to the discussion on that piece, as far as like 70 versus 60, look, I think like publishers, they can charge whatever they want, but there's been some standardization that was put in certain gens like 360, hey, we're going to do this. At the Xbox One, we're going to do this, right? And that's been kind of good because it kind of set it to a standard. Before that could be whatever you want. You could charge 100, you could charge 30, whatever, right? And so it was kind of good that it was leveled off. There's a downside to that in that some games are like 8 hours and some games are like 50. And should the game that has 50 hours be charging more than the one that gives you 8? It depends on the content. I don't want to say that's a guarantee, right? That 8 hours could be massive amounts of character dialogue and FMV or motion capture. And
unique.
Fine.
Yeah, it could be unique content as well. It could be 50 hours, could be recycled stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be a lot of work. And so fair enough. But, there needs to be some judgment there, though, and instead of it just being a blanket thing. But at the $70, it started where all these publishers are making billions in profits. And there was nothing specific that said you needed to have more. It just was, they decided to have more. It's like, well, okay, why? But what I think happened is we always get these deluxe editions and they were charging $10 more. And I think they just did the analytics to say how many people just paid the $10 more. And if that many people will just pay the $10 more, why don't we just charge $10 more?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what ended up happening. And it's like, now here we are. I think it's kind of annoying, but there's also nothing putting downward pressure on it. That's kind of a problem. It's really just Microsoft or Sony set a standard, and that's where it sits. And then, nobody's really, saying, no, we can charge 40. Our games can be profitable at 40. Nobody seems to say that. It just keeps, it keeps going up.
There's not much resistance on that.
Yeah, I don't know what the market force is that says no, but maybe if players decide, like the Sony thing, maybe players decide, 70, we'll just wait. So we won't buy the game.
Again, really well said, and giving me some room for thought there. Joe, I want to feed this onto you, and this is going to be a bit of a controversial opinion, and people can come at me if they want. They always do anyway. Come at me, brace yourselves. But Joe, I want to talk to you about this crunch culture. You guys have crunched. You had blood, sweat, and tears going through this development of the game. But here is some food for thought. I think y'all need to stop being lazy, okay? Humor me. Stop being lazy. This crunch thing, I work my ass off stupid amounts. I don't have Jason Schreier protecting me with 40-hour week. No, fine. I understand completely work-life balance is important. And I do, again, I'm a proponent of the 4-day working week and get that balance right. COVID has changed things, and I'm very pleasantly almost actually surprised, Hargeet, what you said about Japan and Japanese devs pushing back, because I think Japanese culture is really, too, on the other end of scale, really hardworking. I'm not saying devs are lazy, but I think this crunch culture, everyone's just scared of crunch, but David Jaffe, dev behind God of War, he says, crunch is a part of it. Like, at least in the last few months of it, not horrible old rock star levels of crunch, but some crunch time. If you're passionate about a project, you guys look, we'll incentivize it, we'll give you some cash, we'll give you profits based on all the time you spend. But inevitably, in the last few months, the way dev works, we need to kind of pull our socks up, sacrifice a little bit of home time, and get the games out. Stop being lazy, Joe, come at me. You want beef? Let's start beef. I think you guys need to the crunch is a bit too soft. Devs are getting too soft. Come at me.
I think you're confusing overtime and
that's what it is.
And crunch. Crunch and overtime are two very, very different things. And it also depends.
Yeah.
How do you define crunch, what type of crunch are we talking about? For example, use me as an example, and it doesn't matter if it's a family business or not. When I would do decorating, many times I've been on a job where I've had to work over, stay a little bit later. But there's things to that. The work is more tangible, meaning the customer can see what I'm doing. The customers around it a lot more. I can also say, listen, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, this has taken quite a bit longer than usual. Here's the diary. I've been you can see I've been working till this hour.
Yeah.
You've been eating your tea while I've been painting the staircase. I'm going to have to charge a bit more because I can't go on like this. So I would say there's times where I've crunched in decorating, where I've really had to work over. It's not so much overtime per se, because I've not wanted to work overtime on the job. It's just it was much bigger than what I thought, and to make it pay, I had to put in the hours. Now, when we talk about crunch with game dev, I think it is a kind of more of a unique case in that it's less tangible. Where we talk about the fat cats and people above, you're basically more of a number in a conveyor belt. And let's just say, you do this, do that. You've got dozens of 3D artists doing this and doing that. No one's really seeing who's doing what, the effort that's going in. They're just seeing this percentage needs to be completed by then. So don't give a toss what happens, how you feel, get this percentage, versus you can actually physically see you doing more work. There's more human interaction with the game dev. And you've got things like with Amazon, what's happened where people have been working. I mean, that's even more disgusting because it is more of a physical thing. People, everyone working in their house is working.
Jeff Bezos doesn't give a shit about anyone.
So to say devs are lazy is very misconstrued and a little bit disingenuous, because
I'm just being purposely disrespectful for conversation. But
I'm being not I'm just saying it because there's some people who will believe that, but I'm just really trying not to be biased. And it is a unique thing. And I also think, like, talking about COVID and working at home, like, one thing I found is, speaking to some people who work at bigger companies, AAAs, is that the bigger companies who they were working for didn't realize actually working from home wasn't the best model for them. May have been for the person working, but like that kind of comes in a bit deeper. That's a different thing really with the crunch. But I think with game dev and pretty much anything where you are working in a digital-based world and somebody's really at the top, and there's lots of resources, massive warehouse, there's no real human tangible oversight. Yeah, you're going to squeeze they squeeze as much out of you possible. And again, it's all like we said, it's all about profits. Why are they? If they can get away with it, they will. They're not going to charge. They're not going to say, "Oh, you get this amount of money." Or whatever for doing this at the cost of our mental health and energy, and really what do they really get out of it when they're spending? And we're talking a lot of hours. I mean, if you've looked into the Red Dead Redemption thing, myself, I'm blown away with that game. It's absolutely amazing. It's still, in my opinion, revolutionary. But how did they make a game like that? Well, do the research, and it gets a little bit not nice when you look into it and you talk to some people.
They didn't even see their family members for a while. It was breaking up really. And someone in chat corrected me. You're right. Like, I think I'm conflating crunch and overtime, or like you said, because overtime, you get paid overtime. I don't get paid overtime. That's something that you're wanting. Like, I've done overtime when I know that it's my decision versus being absolutely pressured into doing it and getting really nothing out of it. Overtime, I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm working, and I know I'll get something out of it. I'm incentivized. Yeah. And that's true. And it's like, and the reason why I'm playing devil's advocate is to kind of wean out those answers, because as much as I say crunch time and don't be lazy, in my head, I genuinely think we work too much, and we work. It's like, why do we do that? We don't spend enough time with our families. That's what, do you, at the end of this, like, you're going to, what you could be working. I work like silly hours for where I work, but I've come to terms with that, but it still doesn't, like, I'm glad working from home came in to redress the balance a bit. I want a 4-day working week. Ultimately, it's a good conversation to have. And crunch in gaming, especially for QA testers, it's been a pretty rigorous and horrible environment.
QA testers don't get enough credit as well. It's so
they get abused. They get abused.
Yeah, and QA testers are game devs. I'm sorry, they are. They're such an integral part to a game's success. And it's not just, they don't just. It's not just saying, here's bug. They also can help you shape the game in terms of the gameplay mechanics, make you see things differently. Actually, this doesn't work, and they deserve much more credit, really.
That's a great point.
How does QA work at a 5-dev indie studio?
Great
so question. It's the same thing, basically, just a much smaller scale. People get sort of people get access to a test branch, and we're not the best at it, if I'm honest, but like if you get more into it, you'll have like a proper schedule, a proper system, a proper like database of what needs to be tested.
Really quickly though, when you say feedback. People get access to it, what people is this? The people that are also doing other roles within?
So if you're talking about us specifically, it's hardcore members of the community who really understand the game. But if, for example, for Xbox, we will be hiring because we want to get more hands in it, like a sort of a well-known QA service of people who specialize in this. So you can do that as well. That's what we plan to do for Xbox, because we'll have the funding to do so. But right now, or any other small indie devs, will get people from the community who want to do it and are willing to do it. There's no real like strict thing. Like right now with us, we have a test branch and we just say, just go on it. If you find anything, let us know. And we do most of the stuff in-house ourselves, and then launch a lot of hot fixes afterwards when we launch an update.
Oh, Gaz is frozen.
No, he's
I'm
just
back.
thinking.
Sorry, something happened on my fucking stream. Am I robotic? Can you hear me?
No, you're good.
No, it's clear.
Okay, you guys froze up for me for a bit. I was a bit worried there. Okay, let me just see. The chat's fucked for me. Sorry, I have to refresh because I pasted a couple of comments from on this crunch time. So Nico Chief 117 says, when you're young, overtime is great because you need the money. When you get older, it becomes a bit of a bother, and that's a good point. And Peter Morland, he says, spent 20 years as a dev. There was plenty of crunch. Mostly I enjoyed it to some degree, but on the other side, on one project, I ended up doing 12 to 7 for several months, and it fucked me mentally for 2 years, and that's pretty raw. So, that's food for thought there. Dead Planet with a $2 super chat. Thank you. Because lastly, thoughts on Chloe's marketing critique. I don't know who Chloe is. Xbox's marketing critique. Xbox's marketing is so shit at times. Honestly, they get an official Twitter account doing something with goals and stuff. Like, bruh, you've got all these games, like so many games. You want to just market them. Xbox's marketing is horrendous sometimes, so they need to fix that up. But I don't know who Chloe is. Sorry about that. Dead Planet. Mike, thank you with the $10 Canadian. The constant conversation about delays, crunch, and broken, unfinished state of games shows there's a fundamental problem with the industry. Changing the way games are made should be the focus of this gen. Now, that sounds pretty sensible, but you're asking, no, we're not a hive mind. How are you going to get some kind of, I don't know, consensus amongst all these different devs and different cultures from different regions to agree? And what would you change in the way games are made to avoid delays, crunch, and broken, unfinished state of games? And in many ways, gaming is an art form. You develop stuff. You develop product, and some teams will be better at managing that, others aren't. I don't think we should give like a full like blanket, like, oh, okay, that's fine, delay it. I'm sure the game is good, and when the game comes out crap, it's like, oh, there's free from critique. If a game has been delayed multiple times, in my opinion, then that benefits more critique. So, all right, you got the benefit for an additional year. The product, what did you improve? Why is it not showing in that game's quality? That's how it goes. It would go for me. If my client is like, all right, you asked for another 2 weeks to store this, that would never even happen. They want it done yesterday. But if I live in an alternate universe where my client is being graceful and said, fine, you know what, Gaz, you went on annual leave and let's see what you did. And you've come back and you've taken 2 weeks. Oh, what? You fucked my transaction up? Sued. It's weird. Like different fields, I just find it sometimes like it's a bit not coddling devs. I'm very like sympathetic, like you're a bit softy as well, Joe, at times. But sometimes I'm like, but that comes from my Asian parents and beat the shit out of me. And that's why I am messed up the way I am. Yeah. So it's weird. This has been a weird show. We talk about serious stuff, talk about crunch. We got Joe here getting developer insight. But
can I ask a question?
Now. Yes.
So Joe, from your perspective, like when you are in sort of a dev mode, I don't know if this is like I do software development myself, right? And when you're a software developer, like you kind of zone out of everything else, don't realize what time it is, and just keep going, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if that's the same thing with you, because it's creative, right? And so your mind is kind of just in that. And is that kind of common? Do you find that, hey, I'm like zoning into like, I want to create this world or I want to create this animation, and I just get into it and it just takes longer than I expected? Is that kind of just normal? Like, when you get into it, you might find, oh, I thought that would take 2 days. It took you 2 weeks.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's comes with the nature of especially game design and what you're saying as well. I think trying to think like when I was doing decorating, if I was preparing and painting a front door, I wouldn't particularly. I'd spend a little bit longer, sanding it down, getting a good finish on it, but I wouldn't want to spend days in it. I don't want to do that. I want to get it done. But when it comes to certain things like if it's a game mode or even the marketing, I'll spend more time in it because it's something more I love. It's a passion. And when it's something that's a passion, you do want to spend more time with it and you get more lost in it. So that probably is a bit of an issue in the sense that in terms of... it's always going to be there in the back of your mind when if you're lots of developers and you're making a game and you're excited to work for this company at first, you could easily go over those hours and get caught in it and not realize at the same time, like, actually you're doing too much. And that's when the deeper problems and issues of other things and mechanics come involved. But no, to answer your question, it's definitely is a thing that happens.
It's a balancing act, especially with like you say,
anything in life. It's all a balance. It's difficult. It's difficult when you do work, especially like I said, when you're working, when you're providing a service for somebody else. Like say that I'm an environmental artist or a concept artist or 3D modeler or whatever. It's difficult when you're working for somebody else. That's your passion. You love it. It's your dream job, and then you've got X amount of work to do. How do you... This is the thing where it's hard. You see, it's like, well, here's the work. I've got it done in the time frame. They could come back and say, well, this isn't right. That's not right. And it's like, well, you didn't give me enough time. So there's lots of other things that are a part of the issue. It's quite broad, really.
Yeah. No, it's a good question, though. But like in everything, it's quite... Yeah. Final topic. Now, this is going to get a little bit spicy here. Ace said, don't do this take.
The sauce spicy.
The sauce very sauce and spicy. And we don't shy from discourse here, and I want it to be, we're all very nice people, but I want to talk about this. I want to talk about GTA 6. Ace is like, oh no, Gaz, no. Grand Theft Auto 6 is, Rockstar have come out and said they don't want to punch down on anyone, on any communities. They're going to tone, as far as they're changing the philosophy. We're in a new age. We're more aware of everyone and stuff. And now they said they don't want to punch down on communities. And the last time I heard punching down, it was Dave Chappelle, and he was getting it from a certain community. And I'm like, interesting. GTA, no, I will not put both feet in my mouth. Ace, I see the chat. I want your take on this. I don't know anymore. Hargeet, have you heard about this? Have you heard about the fact that Rockstar are going to change their tack? They're not going to punch down communities. That means there may be a fundamental difference in the way they handle their comedy in GTA 6. What's your take on the new? And I have a certain view on it, but I will defer to you first, and sensible man.
So I guess the first real, I don't know why it's a controversy, but the controversy is the main character might be a female lead. I don't know why that's a controversy, but okay. I don't see the issue there, but whatever. So
yeah, some people are like, actually, I did see a lot of people. Oh wow, so woke. You have a female. Well, but there are women in the world. But anyway,
there are women gangbangers in the world. That does exist.
What the hell?
Unfortunately, it does exist, right? So so I don't see that being a major negative. I mean, even in many of the other games, there are female, side characters that are doing the same shit you're doing. So I don't see that. Whatever. So hopefully that's not a big controversy. But the second one, this piece, I don't see a need to be rude to people, right? So like just for no purpose at all, you just call somebody out as being useless or something like that because they're a certain characteristic. Fair enough. But in comedy, in a sort of parody of life, I expect to be able to touch anything, right? And the point of that would simply be to say, hey, this is what happens in real life, and this is freaking funny or stupid. Right. Yeah. And that I'm okay with, as long as it's done in a context that doesn't say I'm just doing this to be a piece of shit. Right.
Absolutely.
So if it's done in a way to say I'm critiquing reality. Right. I say go for anything. Go ahead, make fun of reality as much as you want, right? To make that statement, fair enough, right? But again, don't do it just because, right? Just out of the blue, you decide to, I don't know, pick like a midget and just like kill them or something. Like, why? Why do you like, right? And maybe that's
apparently you can't say midget anymore, by the way. You're not allowed to say that.
Short person, but you know what I mean? Like that kind of like, why?
I don't know if that's true, but
right? But like, why do that, right? But if it's like, hey, I want to talk about how they're mistreated. Right. And in that context, I'm going to showcase, hey, this was stupid. You shouldn't do this. Right. And I'll critique it in a way within the game. Fair enough. Right. I'm okay with that. Right. But so I don't know what path they're going. Right. So I'm not sure what path they're taking. So if that's the path, fair enough. I don't have a problem with it. If the path is, we're going to be politically correct and woke. Okay. I don't know. We'll see what that means. Right. But because and the reason why it's a problem is it's GTA. Right. GTA started with this whole premise. Of being a critique of reality, right? A like over exaggeration and ridiculousness to critique reality, right? That was the whole point. So if that's what they're playing at, then they kind of need to keep that going, right? And so as long as they're doing that, it's fine. And if they're like saying, hey, there were parts of our game where it was just stupid, there was no reason for this, it wasn't part of our message, and we just had it there because we didn't realize, fine, okay, fine, do a better job there, fine.
I agree with everything you say there. Execution remains to be seen. Joe, this could get you cancelled, so be careful what you're saying there. But obviously we don't care, but do you care? No. What's your take on this, man? Like, like I'm older gen maybe, or like you have a view, like, you know what? Like, so I see in the chat some really interesting comments. So Patrick says social commentary and satire can be done without alienating people. John Dunn says it depends on if they tone it down too much and change the feel of the game. And a lot of people in chat, everyone is saying female lead is not an issue. I mean, a female lead thing is not an issue at all for me. I'd find it weird if people are crying woke on that. But even the woke movement, I say woke like it's a bad thing, and a lot of people in the community think woke is a necessary correction. What's your take on it? Be real. It's like, is everyone losing their minds? Or you think that's good, Rockstar? You're being more considerate. Or will GTA be a shadow of its former self if it panders? Panders,
So,
I use that word.
Yeah. I think like everything moves with time, like it's how we evolve. If we were all to have the views of early 19th century of people, it'd be horrendous. What a species would be. It'd be horrible. We'd all be, most of us would be idiots. Half of us would be all racist, this and that. So it's good that as a species and as humans, the education's getting better. The more empathy and understanding is coming out. People becoming more emotionally intelligent and understanding that. The biggest issue for me with this, specifically about having a woman lead in GTA, I could not care less if it's a woman, a man, a clown, an alien. I genuinely couldn't care less. The issue is the people who say it's woke, that, in my opinion, are just exacerbating an issue that should never have been there in the first place. There should never have been this inequality. Why can't a woman be a main role? The reason it becomes an issue is because of how people were brought up in the past and going back generations. Like, if you see what I mean, like, it seems weird. Like, oh, what? No, does it matter? Why does it matter? We're all human beings. We all bleed the same color. Like, what does it?
Well, we'll take the woman thing away and forget because I think we're kind of a consensus. The woman thing is a bit stupid because we have female, but I don't see why that would be an issue. Let's take the jokes, the satire. GTA didn't pull its punches. It would make fun of different communities.
Yeah.
Like, you'll have an Indian accent. Like, I used to watch Apu's cancelled on Simpsons, and as an Asian person, I actually related to Apu quite a bit because our parents, work overtime, didn't really get any breaks. Or, I just find comedy is dying as a result of trying.
Yeah.
You say emotional intelligence, but at the same time, it's like, well, where do we draw the line? Like, we can't even joke. Where's the balancing act there? What do you think? GTA always did it, man. GTA didn't give a shit. The radio channels, they would make fun of everyone. That was the thing. GTA could make fun of everyone equally, and the utility was social commentary. But the fear in my mind, GTA is not the same to me if you pull your punches when it comes to your jokes.
Yeah, it would definitely feel a bit different, wouldn't it? Like, if you go in and it depends how far they go with it, but I don't know really. For me, you see, this is me personally. I never really I don't understand satire. I don't understand sarcasm and things like that. So for me, I've never experienced it that way because I don't actually understand it. Like, my missus, she'll be sarcastic with me all the time and say certain things, and I'm the type of guy who will pretend laugh, and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. But that's just me.
You're American then, if you don't understand sarcasm. Sorry,
maybe.
Nice.
That was sarcasm in a way, but
I didn't even know.
So you're a different crowd. Like, that doesn't okay. So the comedy doesn't.
No, I'm not trying to say it's.
No, I know where you're coming from. It's like you've never gelled and vibed with the comedy. Did you listen to the likes of Bill Burr or Dave Chappelle? A lot of these comedians,
they're know who they are, to be honest. But I understand they would. I know there's a thing of freedom of. Can I have a freedom of speech? Where does that cross the line? Can I say this? And I think I think if it's a job like a comedian and it's that's their profession, it's said in a way where I don't think it's in malice. I think sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Sometimes it's
that's true.
So and sometimes it's the opposite. Do you see what I mean? Sometimes
very good point.
How you say it or what you sort of thing. So with going back to GTA, like if they're really pulling the punches, there is going to be a big portion of people who are like, well, wait a minute, you've taken this type of comedic value out because you don't want to offend this type of people, but then you're offending me because I believe we should have a right to express it in this way when it's not meant with any animosity or anything. So, but then it goes a little bit deeper, in my opinion, a bit where it's kind of like, if people continue to speak about certain things in a way, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, so it's a bit of my perception of it. If we continue to say these really rude, let's be honest about it. There's a lot of racist jokes out there with comedians who
absolutely
do it.
Absolutely,
and
that's a good point there. And if you continue to say that,
if you continue to say it, does this is it a form of education in the sense that people who grow up to idolize these comedians, do they then transition that type of information they're projecting outside of a profession? For example, they take it to school. Like people to take GTA again. They play GTA, say it doesn't pull back his punches. Are they going to start saying some racist? GTA's got a lot of racism. The older ones say a lot of racist words. I'm only saying that because that's the stuff I can remember. Will they go and take back and say some of these words because it's on GTA? And then if we continue on this generalizing here, this same path, will we always be trapped in sort of a circle where people can't differentiate a service or a game or a profession as a comedy? Like, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I
don't know what the answer is as well. No. Despite my strong views, that's the deeper conversation I want to have. And you hit the nail on the head there, because there could be a problem. So, Asa, I want to really hear your thoughts on this. I am a quite stark proponent for that, but I also understand respect. I understand sometimes society, as a society, we also need to move forward. And if we keep continuing to, perhaps racism dressed up as comedy for the sake of expression, then maybe it's a cyclical thing. We don't actually progress. What's your take on it? When you see me say this, we say some outlandish, I say some outlandish things. I love pretty out of the blue people who want to, like Dave Chappelle, the trans community wanted to cancel him. I didn't think he said anything wrong. Yes, I can see you have the right to be offended. I thought actually he wasn't. The intention was there. But then, it's not black and white. There are so many nuances here. And GTA now, we're seeing it. The biggest gaming property out there, really, arguably at the top. And fundamentally has its identity possibly changed, and I think that's quite important, and I think we should talk about it. So what's your take on it? Honestly,
what's your take on a long question? I don't even know what it was. I heard the word respect in there. I think maybe a more important word is responsibility, because Grand Theft Auto is such a big game that it is influential. Not like people on Twitter, but it is influential. So like Joe was saying, things that you see in there, they may have an impact on real people's lives, and that is important. It does matter more than entertainment, probably. The thing that I find confusing about this whole conversation is I don't remember Grand Theft Auto being massively problematic. And I think if it really did punch down and punch all of these communities, like you're saying, I don't think they would have remastered Grand Theft Auto 3 as is a few months ago, and had the biggest criticism be that it doesn't perform very well on consoles. So it's a raw game, and it punches at everyone, and it does certain things that have always been controversial from people that don't like to see violence in games. There's no chance that they're taking that out. So I'm not sure how much that Rockstar can really change in Grand Theft Auto as a series to avoid upsetting people.
But that's what makes me concerned, because when they come out with this statement, I never felt like
I've not seen a statement from them. What have they said?
I just had it here. So they use the terminology punching down, as far as I'm correct, cleaning up their image. So let me just get the quote here. Oh no! What, you want to pay for Bloomberg? Of course, Jason Schreier's right at the top of SEO. You have to pay for the article. You, Jason. You in the face. Okay, let me just find an article that isn't blocked by. Oh, I swear, Jason.
Don't worry too much. It's fine. Let's just assume that they have come out and said that.
So yeah, let's assume they come out. They've said that they're going to go ahead and like really make sure they don't punch down on communities. That's an admission almost that they did punch down previously. In which case I never felt it, and I need to give someone from a community may want to come back and just say, hey, this is an example of I felt pretty affected by it. It was a joke for my community, and I didn't think there was much utility in it. I think it's important to have those conversations. And you know me, my take is like, I feel like companies, especially Xbox and all these, they hit a tick box. Let's pander to, let's piece of people of color in there. Let's just push them in there, and not in a meaningful way. My critique is you push like people here. He's black, he's Asian. Let me push him in there. But I'm Asian and piece of color. Let's put a Muslim in there. But what's the thought behind that? In the medium, have you think about it behind surface level sentiments? I don't trust corporations to do that anyway. So I'm a bit concerned, but Rockstar's quality shines through anyway. But there are fundamental things there, and it kind of wraps up all the crunch talk, because they've said now we're not going to do that. We're going to change the culture. No more pushing crunch. We're going to change the culture. No more punching down, if they ever did punch down. That suggesting that tonally the game might change, or female protagonists, who cares? But yeah, so it's like, what's going on? It's going to be interesting to see, because I think that the GTA community is going to be looking at this very strongly. Rockstar has been under the gun, rightfully so, with the way they've been pushing shark cards. I see Boba Fett talking about shark cards being offensive, so it's a constant conversation, and I'm just a bit concerned, that's all. But in chat, you've all been quite sensible. I think it's important to have the conversations and not be scared, because some channels won't even talk about it, of like, oh no, and then some people have like the pandering. And I know the words like woke or virtue signaling are weaponized a lot of the time by the people on the right, or just want to degrade people. There's a political thing, but at the same time, I do find there's a lot of people pushing a go woke or go broke narrative, or virtue signaling with surface level sentiments. I'm just concerned a little bit with GTA. I think they need to I don't want to put a muzzle on the kind of content they put out. But that's it. That's what it is. And Mike says the social climate is just totally different now. I don't think you can make a true GTA game without everyone on social media trying to cancel it. And that's what pisses me off. I don't want this cancel culture. Like, if it was up to cancel culture, Dave Chappelle wouldn't have had his show. Mm-hmm. And I think his show was absolutely fine. And obviously I'm not, well, actually, as a Muslim Asian guy, we get it all the time. Like, all the bad guys are like terrorist people. Okay, that's a bit issue. I took offense to that. No one gave a shit about that. Well, yeah. Oh, yeah, you got pushed into it as well. Look, we're all like from different parts of the community, man. And I understand, like, Muslims got the bad rap for ages, and Indiana Jones, this guy, every time you think Muslims, you think whatever. So there's like a conversation to be had there, but at the same time, I'm just like, not GTA, man, don't fuck that up. But the medium is evolving, and everything is maturing, and there's a conversation, larger commentary to be had. I could talk about this for ages. Bill Burr was brilliant, by the way. I loved his stuff. Come at me, but I thought it was hilarious. Yeah. We've gone on a bit of a philosophical take here, but it's interesting chat. Gents, do you have anything to add to that? Or Hargeet?
I mean, the only thing I can see so far was there was some, I think it was transphobic stuff pulled from GTA 5.
That happened. I don't know what that was. I don't know what the context is.
That might be kind of what they're going after, right? So I don't know. There is a lot about trans. There's a lot about that in our culture is sensitive, let's say. It's very sensitive. And maybe that's what they're trying to go after. Something Joe mentioned about like the intent, that matters too, right?
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
Yes, there are racist tones and things, but let's say like GTA which one was it? One of them had a black. I mean, several of them had a black protagonist, right? And in normal black culture, they use the N-word a lot, right? And pulling that back might be okay, but I think it kind of takes out some of the reality of it, right? Because that in actuality, that's what they'll
It could be more offensive in certain ways. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
right.
a
It's
good
like
point.
so you're now
Well,
censoring, right? So, and I actually am an advocate to get rid of that word. I don't think black people should use it at all, but that's not for me to decide. That's up to them. Right.
I get
Exactly.
So if that's natural, then taking it out makes it unnatural. So that's something I wouldn't agree with.
But you would understand the intent behind it.
Exactly.
And
right.
You could be rational about it, sort of.
Yeah.
So we have to wait and see, right? So if it's really like really sensitive things that are problematic in society, maybe they're like, let's just not delve into that. Okay, fair enough, right? But
the craft doesn't suffer at the ultimately.
Exactly,
like they're
right?
making a game, by the way.
They're still doing their thing. Yeah, exactly, right? They're still making the critique of whatever they think in society needs to be critiqued. Fair enough. Like go ahead, right? But yeah, that it's an interesting thing. We'll have to just see what it comes out to be.
Absolutely.
I think it'll end up being a good product. Like, I know it's obvious this, but when you have an opinion, no matter what it is, or you have a service or profession, no matter what you do, you will always risk the chance that you will offend someone. Yeah. Even if it's the most holy, beautiful thing you do, somebody will be offended. And maybe you could argue they have a right to be offended. It's how they go about it and address it. But I will point out, like, even with Hypercharge in the past, honestly, guys, I've had a few people, not many, go on a tantrum about how awful it is to have action figures so violent action figures shooting other action figures. We can't even win sometimes there, so it doesn't matter what you do. And bear in mind, in Hypercharge, toys don't even die. They don't even die. Like, it's just it was a big. It got like, it was on LinkedIn, a big thing, like, oh, you're pushing violence in kids and this and that. And it's like
pushing violence.
Yeah,
see,
honestly.
This is the thing. It gets a bit. Well, I think we get busy. If the people can come at bloody Hypercharge, then it's
Mario's
gonna be
overly violent. He kills the little Koopas.
He's jumping on drain pipes and he's ruining the edges and the paintwork.
Why is Mario going in pipes? This is trying to be propaganda. They're trying to
plumbers don't do this. Plumbers can't fix in pipes. All the plumbers start rising.
Oh shit! That went a bit left side. Game of my choice. Thank you for the $10 super check. I think the problem is that satire has become lost now, and everyone is wanting a reason to be angry. GTA just reflects things that I see in the world today. Don't censor games. I'm an adult. Great show. And there's a great comment. And with that, it's like, well, just open dialogue and let's have a conversation. There's intention. It's so important. The irony behind all of this is, and I keep saying Dave Chappelle, he's someone I would look up to massively. Dave Chappelle stopped doing this.
He's that comedian, isn't he, sir?
He's
a comedian.
He's that comedian. What? He is the comedian. He's the GOAT. Did
he get tackled on stage not long ago?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, he's funny. I like him. He's funny.
He's hilarious, man. He's a legend, and he's bulletproof because he can say whatever and gets away with it. But he does it in a way that's so intelligent. And the reason why I bring him up is not only is he in the face of cancel culture, he himself actually withdrew from comedy with the Chappelle Show because he was doing a skits, and a lot of it he does is comedy, and it's self-deprecating humor against black people as well. Like, not like thinking of his own race, but he will like make a joke, and it's like self-deprecating about black culture and stuff. And he did a joke, and what actually set him off is the way someone on stage laughed. I think it was a white person who laughed, and that made him rethink it. Is the intention behind the laugh? Like, you're laughing. Am I making a mock of my own culture, my own people, and you facilitating people to look down? And so, to him, even to a certain extent, like that, he turned down $50 million, bro, for that.
I'm sure he made that back. I'm sure he made it.
He made that and then some. He's crazy. I don't like Ricky Gervais. I think he's a bit of a dick. But yeah, so yeah, there is that. There is this conversation. I went to watch Book of Mormon, and as a religious person, I found some bits of the things like, oh, that doesn't sit right. But I have the right to be offended, but I'm not going to go out there and cancel people. But it's an interesting conversation. I think there's more to talk about it, but perhaps not on this show. We've gone a bit philosophical, but it's important. GTA is there, and it's at the forefront of that kind of discourse. So it's important to talk about it. And here at GameOnDaily, we talk about it all. We are independent. It's not like we're going to keep shilling, I don't know, Game Pass or some shit. But yeah, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, it's been an incredible show. Thank you so much. Sorry it's been a bit, off topic all the time, but I think I like these
times to get a bit off topic. It's good, I think.
It's fun. I like that. To me personally, I enjoy that. And then talking to chat. And chat, before we go, I want to announce that we do have a Tuesday show in the works. That's going to be community focused. That allows you to have conversations with us. I think I want to announce that before anyone else even tries to do it. Just know that we have been working on it. It's so important because we want a two-way dialogue. I read the chats, that's great, but I want to incentivize, especially the members who do actually pay, man. Like, it means a lot. Everyone's important, but especially those who are members here. We're pushing more content early for you as well, but we'll give you more incentives as well. Having a two-way dialogue. Can you imagine? Phone-ins. Yes, Aaron, we're going to have phone-ins into the show. That means make sure we're going to open up our Discord. It's locked off now to members and patrons at the moment. We're going to open it up. We're going to have phone-ins into the show on Tuesday. It's going to be an incredible show. And Marcus will give you codes in the future, but it'll be very good. Obviously, some risks with people coming in talking shit, but we'll have to vet them. But it's going to be an incredible experience. You are the community. So you need to have a voice. GameOnDaily.com was created for that. I promise you, me and Asa, if we were chasing money, there would be ads on our website. And the game aggregation platform that has been sunk in with nearly 100 Gs on this thing has been for the community. And we really want to give you guys a voice because you guys always mostly come up with some good stuff. There's a lot of out there as well. I see you in chat. I won't name any names, but yeah, please look out for it. Your support means everything. For anyone who didn't watch my Max Payne video, you in the face, gamer by choice, thank you for being a member for 17 months, because I love the fact that GameOnDaily will have the conversations that other people shy away from. Great show and panel, and thank you for the source. That's a very lovely message, and we will always keep that legit, no matter what the political thing is, to be safe. As long as it's sincere, respectful, can be maybe someone will say disrespectful, but it's going to be real. And we don't want to be dicks for the sake of it. We just really have those real conversations. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Smash the like button on the way out. Please subscribe. Thank you, everyone, all the members, channel members. Thank you so much for being channel members. We'll catch you very soon. But before we do that, outro time. Joe, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. Like, just having you on here talking about all sorts, not just Hypercharge, which is an incredible game, but also life stuff. And you are one of the most human devs I've had the opportunity to chat to. So it's good. Obviously, almost like a mate. Well, as a mate. Yeah. I need to come down. We need to get Link and get danked, and I'll say what that off air. But I hope you had a great time. And
yeah, no, it's been really awesome. Thank you. Because I always say I'm down to earth, and I just try and I'm just myself. So,
you are,
and that's pretty much it. Yeah, sorry, I'm tired now. So
no worries, man. Well, what's in store? If you're going to say anything about Hypercharge, what's in store for fans of Hypercharge in the future?
So we've got this again. We've got the story campaign. We're gonna. There's quite a few things really. We're overhauling all the PvP modes. We're further improving like the UI of the game, the UX, the core experience, like the balance of the waves-based mode, which will be the story mode when that comes out, and just tweaking things, making it much better. And we have the survival mode, endless mode, which is coming as well. New maps, new enemies. It's going to be amazing. And if anybody wants to sign up to our newsletter, go to signup.playhypercharge.com or just search on Google Hyperloop on Hypercharge unboxed, and you can find all the links there. And as I said, it's been fantastic to be on here. So no, thanks for having me, guys. Honestly, and I see you as a mate as well. We'll definitely have to meet up. Honestly, I think what you've done with GameOnDaily and everybody else who's involved, it's absolutely fantastic. So go sign up to his Patreon, GameOnDaily. I'm doing marketing for him now. Just sign up.
You're good at it, better than me are. So
sign up to become a patron. If any Hypercharge fans are here, right, that get themselves over to
and register
patreon.com/GameOnDaily.
You don't have to pay us if it'd be nice. Visit the website, register there.
Paying.
Yeah, I need to market a little bit, but it's weird asking people for money. I just want them to feel that it's worth it. So I hope I'm doing that. But last but certainly, Hargeet, part of the familia. How are you, brother? It's always good to have you on, man. I hope you had a good show, and thanks for destroying my dreams by ABK going through. Thanks.
It was a good show. Hopefully we'll get this Tuesday show thing going, figure it out. I'm not sure how that'll work. We'll see.
It's good. We did the photo shoots today. It's pushing it through. We'll be working on it hard. I don't know when, but we're pushing it through. But I'll chat about it with you as well.
Yeah.
Push through.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. And for those who thought there was no code, there you go.
Oh, there you go. Hargeet is dropping the Hypercharge Steam global key in chat. Thank you so much for that, Hargeet. You are
nice.
Very generous person. There you go. You guys are too spoiled. But thank you so much, Hargeet. Asa, outro time. You think I'll forget? I did, but I didn't. It was nice that you choked me today. Not in a sexual way, I might add, but it came out so wrong. It was really good to see you, bro. And but what's in store for people who are viewing our shit? I'm going to share down socials.
So, I can't remember. So there's a video on the GameOnDaily channel, which is quite nice. You should try and watch it on the TV. It is very pristine to look at. That should be hitting for Monday. Don't know what time on Monday, but sometime on Monday. There's also stuff going on my channel. I've got my VR headset back. I've got my treadmill going, so I'm back running around Skyrim and all the rest of it, stabbing people up and having a great time. So that's on my Twitch channel. And Thursday on YouTube, I do a Q&A show, which is hour and a half, 2 hours of me and the community talking about stuff, which is good fun. So come along there if you can. And all the GameOnDaily things. And yeah, over to you. You do an outro for once, guys. Let's give you the full screen. Go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We have a lot more content. We've got Monday content. Pixel Slapper Play games, you piece of shit. Just not on Xbox. They'll be in everywhere. Yeah.
No,
did you watch
like
my
his
Max
big
Payne
face.
video?
There we go.
Yeah, that Pixel Slapper. What? Did you cancel me? We got a lot more content coming. And also, well, a lot more. We keep saying it, but we've got 2 videos out. Members can see. Please watch Ace's video. Oh shit, Joe! Joe just left us and destroyed. Put me full screen for my face. Look at my face.
Do
that. Hi everyone. This is the Auto Dude Show. Please subscribe. We'll see you next week. Take care. Peace.